Hey folks, your OS Reviews. You're watching our video first look and a quick review of the Meer 1200 lumen low-cost projector. This one sells on Amazon for only $70 and it projects up to 130 inches. It's using LED technology and supports an HDMI or full 1080p input, although the native resolution isn't quite as high. It's only 480 by 800, which is again average for a low-cost projector of this cost. Otherwise, the design here comes in two colors. It comes in black or white. It features Keystone Correction, and you can adjust the angle pretty easily when you pop it onto a virtual display. What I have to say though is there are a few limitations. This is more suited for entertainment as opposed to being a business class projector, since it's not as sharp for reading small text, and also it's a slightly larger, so it's meant to stay in one spot as opposed to being really portable. Taking a quick look at the packaging here, it's pretty simple. Again, you have basic info located on the sides, including what formats that it supports, since there is a full-size USB port located on the side and an SD card slot, which means that you have the ability to pop in a media card loaded with some songs and videos on it, and you can play it back without connecting it to a computer or a tablet. So there are no other wireless capabilities on this specific model, so it doesn't have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. There's no built-in operating system, so it's pretty straightforward and easy to set up. Inside the packaging, there's access to the projector itself. We'll take a closer look at that in a second. There's another small box with the accessories, which include a remote control, which is fairly modern looking and reminds us a lot of Android TV box remote controls, even though it doesn't feature gestures. There's a up-down, left-right navigation array. There's also a back key, a menu key, volume controls, skip track controls, and dedicated power switches. It is an infrared remote, which means it has to be directly pointing at the sensor on the projector for it to work. If it's covered up or pointing across the wall, it's not going to be operational. It uses two AAA batteries, which are not included. There's also a standard AC output, and finally there is an RGB adapter so you can connect an older DVD player or an older laptop. Finally, we have just the projector here. Again, we have the white unit for review purposes, but it also comes in that black if you want a different choice. And again, there is an instruction manual documented fairly well that tells you how to set it up and use it with various input methods. So taking a look at the design of the Meer projector first, it's made entirely out of a polycarbonate material, and we have the company's logo embedded on the very front. For the most part, it feels quite well constructed. It's not a hollow projector at all. It feels very much solid and like one piece. The projector lens is protected by a cap that can be pulled off, and it's pretty easy to adjust the focus of the projector simply because the top here is made out of this grippy plastic material that's slightly easier to maneuver than other competing projectors I've seen in the past. So it uses a fairly sleek, stylish, and modern design in my opinion. The top features the navigational controls if you don't want to use the remote. There's access to the same input modes, back keys, menu selection keys, and OK keys, along with a power switch on the side. The very back features a dedicated VGA port, the infrared port for the remote, power source input, and on the side there is access to a full-size SD card reader. There are two USB inputs, and there's also a full HDMI port, a 3.5mm headphone jack, and the AV adapter port. I should also mention that the second USB port dubs as a charging port. Now, this is one of the most unique features of this projector. Unlike other models that we've seen, if it's connected to power, it can also charge up your smartphone or your tablet. So it provides a means of being a smart charger in a sense, of having 5V 1 amps being the output. So you can, again, safely charge up an Android phone in around 2 hours or so, especially if you are then connected to the projector on the other side. So it makes for a pretty compelling secondary feature. So next, let's take a quick look at the performance of the projector by turning off the light. Right now we have a virtual screen size of about 130 inches. I'm roughly 3 meters away from the wall, and you can see that it projects a pretty clean image. Obviously, if I zoom all the way in, you can still see pixelation just because, again, the native resolution, or the output, is 800 by 480, so text isn't going to be the sharpest thing. But for pictures and images, it does a reasonable job. You can change things like the color temperature in the settings and play around with stuff like that if you don't like what it looks like by default. So there's a very light operating system built in that comes standard with almost all of these Chinese projectors we've seen, screen, very similar to the YG-300, which is a much smaller unit that we reviewed a few weeks back. And you can hear a bit of the fan noise in the background, but if you have music playing, there is a built-in speaker, by the way. You can drown out the sound pretty easily. The main interface here is fairly clean. You have a few tabs to go through your movies, music, photos, and text if you have, again, content loaded into a memory card or a thumb drive and you have it plugged in. So there's no need for connecting it to a computer for those very basic tasks. But if you want to mirror a display, it works pretty well. Just tap on the input source and let's go and select, for instance, HDMI. So here's what it's like after connecting a computer onto the projector and mirroring the display. For instance, if we watch a video loading up YouTube over here, and we try full screening the content, we can see it still makes for a pretty enjoyable experience, especially since the display is quite large, and we have fairly accurate as far as the color reproduction is concerned. At 1200 lumens, I would say that it does get reasonably bright. You can have some moderate light in the background and still see the content that's being projected. However, if all the lights in the room are on, like the ceiling lights are on, then it's going to be a little tougher to see, and in broad daylight it still gets washed out. But again, the nice thing about something like this, an LED projector, is it's technically better for your eyes. There's not as much strain. There are no viewing angle issues since, again, it's projected onto a flat wall as opposed to being backlit. So it is quite easy to use if you have a crowd of people or you're showing a movie to friends and family for those purposes. Let's turn up the volume and hear the speaker a little bit better. 720p viewing experience, which is typical for a lower priced phone. It's not 1080p. However, colors and saturation are vibrant and it offers a rich and generous view. So you can hear from that brief sample that it does get quite loud. However, it's a little tinny sounding. There's not that much bass. So speakers aren't the best, but they do work. If you're watching movies, I do recommend plugging in your own external speakers for a better audio experience. However, again, they are built in and that's quite nice at this very low cost. So that's been a quick video first look and a quick review of the Meer LED mini projector, and overall I think it works very well. It's better than the YG-300 that we checked out, even though it is about 3 times as large. This is definitely not a Pico projector in size. It's more meant, again, as a stay in one spot and use it projector. But at this price point, things are certainly getting better in terms of the construction. The image quality on this isn't bad at all for its price, and yes, if you're going to be super nitpicky, of course it's not the sharpest thing in the world, but all in all, again, really not bad for what you're paying. And if you're watching some quick clips with family and friends, it makes for a pretty enjoyable experience in a room if you have access to a ceiling and or some type of projector screen, of course. You can check out more details in our upcoming official written review, but for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the Meer Mini LED Projector.